Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. We heard the breaking news yesterday about Portland being invaded by American troops. That just sounds so stupid to have to say. But apparently this is what the Trumpster wants. Kank's McTaco Tits is ordering military troops to shoot to kill when they get to Portland, and they're confronted by protesters at an ICE facility out there. So we'll have to see what happens. I looked at a live feed from overnight and early this morning, and there was absolutely nothing going on. I saw the war zone, but what I saw was 3 or 4 people standing around. What I saw was a car driving by very slowly. Didn't look like a war zone to me. Now, I'm no expert. I've just seen a lot of war movies in Hollywood, but when you say war zone, I think, IEDs and, landmines. I think mortars, shells incoming. There's none of that going on in Portland. Brock Ganeles joins me live from the beautiful confines of the Hudson River Valley. Brock, just another cantankerous fucking fool move by a dementia-ridden nut job called Kank's McTaco Tits.
But what's he getting out of it? I mean, it's asinine. I also saw some footage of some ICE agents driving around in boats in the river in Chicago, they're like the Navy, like they were the Navy invading Chicago. And Chicago now has that nice little walkway, has all those bars and restaurants right on the water, and you got 1,001 tourist boats going out to Lake Michigan right there, and you got ICE agents cruising around in a boat. What the fuck? They're accomplishing nothing. They look idiotic, right? As they do in Portland when they're just walking around kind of an empty city just trying to go about its business.
Right.
But the scary part is what's behind it, right? It's the normalization of troops on our streets, patrolling our behavior, basically, right? Under the guise of searching for,
the worst of the worst. That's the ad that's running here. Are you sick and tired of the invasion in your country? Join ICE and help us capture the worst of the worst. That ad with very similar verbiage, I can't quote it right off the top of my head, but very similar verbiage to that is running right now and looking for the recruitment.
So that's the recruiting angle.
Yeah.
And I get it. That's why they're basically recruiting the worst of white America, right? They're getting 3%ers. They're getting Proud Boy types. They're getting Jan 6er types, right? Giving them a big fucking gun and tell them to go chase brown people. It gets me really frustrated when I see blacks or Latinos that are ICE agents. That just pisses me off because, come on. This is a white supremacy army. But the second part is, which maybe we'll touch on later in the discussion, is if we don't nip this in the bud with some massive protests, there's just going to be more people hired on more streets with more heavy weaponry. Just in the end, they end up patrolling all of us, right? It's a step towards a police state. In D.C., it's just general crime and homelessness that they're worried about, right? It's moved way beyond just being, even ICE deportations, which were bad enough.
Right. And, Brock, it's interesting, too. I was at the Commanders-Falcons game, and there was a couple sitting in front of us that came down for the game from D.C. They said it was awful. Tanks and everything, stopping people. It was basically stop and frisk, but military folks, and, they were furious about it, absolutely livid about it. And now it's going to happen in other places. This particular couple said they were gone now, but they said while they were there, it was very unsettling. It made them very uneasy. And you can extrapolate from that. It's very un-American, right? It's disgusting. We look back on Kent State, for example, and we are sick to our stomachs as Americans, right? We look back at the Kennedy assassination. We're sick to our stomach. Martin Luther King's assassination. We're sick to our stomachs. This kind of violence is disgusting. It's reprehensible, but yet we still allow it to happen, right? Because it's just a matter of time before these guys start letting off rounds. You get the right group of soldiers right? That are itching for some action, right? And next thing you know, you've got American citizens killed by their own military.
The thing to me is that, like, the way I look at it, and what bothers me the most is, like, we live and have prided ourselves in being a free society, right? We're a free society, and we're always talking about freedoms, and we kind of argue to the world that America has the most freedom in the world. And to me, the fallacy in, like, the fraud of these sending the military into these cities is that having a lot of people walking around with heavy weaponry does not make the citizenry feel safer. More weapons around does not provide the feeling of safety, and it doesn't give you the sense that you're still living in a free society. That feels like a police state. That feels like an authoritarian, military-backed fascist state. That's what it feels like when there's soldiers walking around with guns. And we tolerated it, we put up with it, maybe we even endorsed it right after 9/11 when we were scared shitless for like 72 hours. Right. And then it dissipated. Then it went away as we got an understanding of what was going on. The military, left the streets in New York, and maybe that was the only city that they were noticeable in. This just doesn't fly, but it's being done in this incremental way in which we're allowing it to happen city by city. Pretty soon they're going to be everywhere.
Right. And that's the thing. I told you I was with a group of friends last week, and we were, just talking one day. There were 13 of us, African American men, wide-ranging, career choices. And to a man, we had everything from doctors to social security, government employees that work with Social Security. We had everybody from enlisted men. One of our good friends is a Navy veteran. And, we had, a brisk discussion about what are we waiting for? Like, why are people not more upset? And it keeps the same theme, pops up. Well, we can't get out there first. Because if we get out there, it's going to be curtains for us, right? Especially as black men. But now I'm seeing African American men that are actually doing some training to protect their neighborhoods, that are arming themselves. I think I sent you a couple of clips. I'm seeing Black Hebrew Israelites debating with Charlie Kirk supporters. That can only go wrong, very wrong. That can get ugly in a hurry. So, the black community knows that there's a sense of urgency, but we don't know how to go at it this time, right? Because no one has ever been in the presidency who espoused such open racism and the potential for such wanton violence. Go ahead. You were going to make.
What I was going to jump in on is, like, I no longer think. I mean, I think the anger is there now. I think there's less complacency. There's still some complacency in the white community, but there's also an increasing boiling pot of anger. So I don't think that it's not maybe like people aren't there mentally, but now it's that next leap of actually getting out there. That next really, really big, uncomfortable leap of getting out there and really confronting, this authoritarian state. And it is scary. Maybe there's a fear factor, but I do think part of it is a lack of leadership factor as well, because there's no one that's really rallied people with a goal and saying, if we do this, we can accomplish this. We need to be out in the streets with this many people for this many hours, and we're not going home. We're staying overnight. We're going to force them to push us off the streets. We're going to force them to move us, because otherwise we're shutting this shit down, because we're pissed, because we want it shut down. No one's really expressed like a strategy, an end game, and energized the angry people. I think people are waiting to just be, kind of inspired.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And, to me, and we talked about this yesterday, why aren't the leaders of the communities that make up 55% of the population, strategizing together? We are stronger together, right? You get that 55% plus spicy white America, and because the spicy whites are with us, right? Spicy white folks like yourself, you know what? You're not concerned about blacks and browns taking your job because you're competent. You've educated yourself. You competed. You're a college athlete. Competition doesn't scare you,
Yeah, I mean,
right? But I think that there are too many white men who fear competition, like the fear mongering is ridiculous. And I just don't get it because we don't have those conversations in
it's a fraud, though. We see already. No one's taking anyone else's jobs. You sweep a whole bunch of people out of there. These jobs are kind of like unfilled. Oh, by the way, we all have to worry about like AI coming and taking all of our jobs, right? I don't see the big push against that. That's what's really going to take people's jobs, right? Okay. Not a person of color. Why don't you worry about these tech bros that are looking for ways to supplant fucking kind of all of us, while they're surveilling us along the way. So, it's always been bullshit. It's always been about power and dominance and who gets to control shit. And then there's 1,001 arguments that are made underneath it.
Right.
But we got to nip the militarism in the bud. Like, I'm particularly worried about this meeting on Tuesday that Pete Hegseth is having with all these generals, like weirdly flying them all in from around the world to do an in-person meeting, right? Like not a Zoom meeting, right? So first of all, the cost is off the charts and it's probably asinine.
Right.
But, supposedly he's going to talk about, the warrior mentality that our forces need to have, right? So a Fox News fucking alcoholic is going to be preaching, right? And lecturing our greatest generals. That's the first fucking problem, right? All of them are like, I can't believe this horse shit is about to go on. And then Trump, who fucking draft dodger, is going to show up, right? And they're going to put on a tough guy act. But, Timothy Snyder pointed out, he's really concerned because, he's worried about authoritarianism. He's worried about loyalty pledges and the Hegseths of the world, pruning any of the generals that don't show pure loyalty. So there's only a military that's not defending the Constitution, that's defending this regime. And that's what he's worried about. So yeah, that Tuesday meeting scares the shit out of me. And it ties in with this sending these troops into all these cities. I mean, is that the warrior mentality? Right. The warrior mentality is internal.
Right. And you know what? It should scare us all, Brock. Because this is unheard of. We are not in any conflict right now with anyone but ourselves. And I don't understand why you need to rally the troops to what? To kill Americans? What could be the purpose of the rally? What are we rallying against? Who's going to ask that question? I saw a great article. I have to go back and look it up, but it was 10 questions the folks attending this meeting should ask, right? And one of them was who are we rallying against again? And for what? Why are we going into American cities? It makes no sense to see these guys walking around Chicago, downtown Chicago, not in the projects, not where the gangs jump off, but near the Michigan Mile, near some of the priciest real estate in America. These guys are walking around looking like they're on the front line of the Ukraine and Russia conflict. I mean, this is insane. It is insane. And, but look, black people have been dealing with this for a long time because a lot of police agencies look like the military when they come. Have you seen the Batarang in Los Angeles?
Yeah, because they bought all the excess equipment. Yeah, I mean the police are as armed. This is this problem. Tuesday's scary. The sending the troops into different cities is a problem. It's why we have to protest. We can't just keep accepting the Marines, our military, being sent into our cities to do in essence, a false protection. Right? This is this is a manufactured crisis with a fake outcome. Like you said, I didn't even realize the troops were out of D.C. You said that family that was near you at the game said the troops are gone from D.C. So they came and went, and what the fuck did they do? They did nothing. They picked up garbage. They cleaned shit. They fucked around with some homeless people who like have life hard enough. Like those, like that. We're punching down on the homeless now instead of helping them. We're treating them like they're criminals because they can't afford the fucking rent that's out of control in this country. It just makes no sense. All this, as you said earlier, this is un-American behavior.
Right.
Un-American behavior, and we got to need to do something about it.
And how long is it going to take for us to say, okay, enough is enough. We're done fucking around with you people. Let's get to these streets. Let's get something done. Let's get this guy out of office because America is not built to handle a criminal like Donald Trump in the presidency. Right? Not to mention the clown car cabinet that's full of criminals criming left and right in broad daylight with him.
Well, I'm going to say the next No Kings March is on whether it's the 14th or 17th is a key seminal date. I mean, I'm also interested to see, but worried about the Schumer-Jeffries meeting with Trump tomorrow, because Trump had refused to meet with him, which made me think we're sailing into a shutdown that Trump wants, so the Epstein files don't come out. Right. But now, like, I'm nervous and worried about Schumer and Jeffries in that room because I don't think that they're strong enough. And for some reason, I think that they're too worried about keeping this government open instead of, you know, using all their leverage and using it as an opportunity to basically embarrass this Trump administration.
Right. Yeah, I really don't think they're meeting the moment again. This is another kind of Merrick Garland moment. And, you know, I don't think they're tough enough to go in there and say, Mr. Trump, you cannot do this to Americans. You cannot kick, 15 million Americans off of their Medicare and Medicaid plans. You cannot boost premiums so that, you know, millions of Americans cannot afford them and go without health coverage.
Are they walking in with a list of demands? If they are, they haven't told us they are. So is this, they working on it behind the scenes and going in because they want to come in with and, you know, almost like surprise attack. Here's our list and like steal the media moment. I don't think Chuck Schumer is capable of that and has that level of craftiness and pizzazz.
Me neither.
God, I hope he surprises me. But that's what I would love to see. Like, here's the list of demands. Right. You want us to keep this government open? Here's the things you can do. Right now, we can walk out of this meeting and agree on it, but you got to do this laundry list of things.
Right. And
imagine they put a vote on the Epstein files on there.
Right. Now.
And this last item is we want the Epstein file vote to come to the floor.
Yep. And again, this is why Trump wants the government shut down. I think Jeffries and Schumer could give him everything he wanted and he'd still say no deal. Just because of the Epstein files. Because the longer the government's in session, the more he has to worry about those files coming out. Now, J.D. Vance is already on the Sunday shows this morning, you know, kind of trying to steal the narrative, saying, you know, the Democrats want to shut down the government because they want to give billions of dollars in health care to illegal aliens and illegal citizens, illegal people here in the country illegally. That's going to be their talking point. I'm sure everyone got the email this morning. Everyone with a mic in front of them is, you know, spouting the same bullshit. And, you know, that's going to be their messaging.
But that was the talking point that got the cuts into the bill initially. Right. Was that same talking point that, you know, it's wasted, it's going to, you know, it's a total lie. But that's the lie they played with. So Vance is sticking with that lie. I think that's not creative. I would think they might have had a better lie. And I didn't even know those Sunday shows were still going on. They're still doing that bullshit on Sunday mornings. Yeah. Bringing in these guys to fucking, you know, lie away for, just spit lies for 30 minutes. It's like, just give them a platform to lie. Okay. That's, you know, I cut those shows off.
They're talking to these Republicans like they're like normal, like a normal conversation. No one's calling them out on the bullshit. No one's pointing out the inaccuracies in the crap that they spout, right? I'm sick and tired of the media, giving deference to the off. Why are you giving them some sort of special privilege because they're in the office? They're in the office committing crimes that you know about.
Yeah,
They're in the office espousing white supremacy. You know about it. You've read about it. You've heard them say it. Why are you giving them the kind of respect because of the title they hold when they're not respecting the title? It's a joke.
It's like having Joseph Goebbels on in Germany 1933, right? For a little Q&A. Where it just normalizes things. It gets into the conversation. It gives it gravitas. It allows it to become fact. And, the more they lie, the more it appears to be the truth. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're 10 years deep into this game. And the same fuckers like what? Jake Tapper and Dana Bash and I don't even know who else is on those shows now that's asking the questions. It's just playing the exact same game, the same way. I mean, we're just going to have the same output and outcome. I mean, the media has failed us so dramatically.
Yep. It's a joke. And, I just don't understand. I mean, people must be sitting at home watching this crap and thinking it's the gospel.
Some people, hopefully the ratings are terrible, but, I guess there's some people watching.
They've got to be awful. I mean, the shows are terrible. The people are lying. You got the same old tools up there, Chris Christie and, with Stephanopoulos and, nothing. We have realized what the media is, and that's a money-making enterprise. It's not, for the people. It's not by the people. And what they're doing is doing it to the people. And that seems to be okay with them as long as they're making their profit and, those television news executives are getting their bonuses.
I mean, the ad dollars must still be coming in. I can't be the only one who just stopped watching them outright, like zero.
You're not.
It's not even a thought when I wake up on a Sunday morning that any of that shit is coming on. I don't even watch the clips. Like I see like a Mike Johnson's on or a JD Vance is on, or I didn't even realize Christie still got his gig doing that shit.
Man,
I'm like, there's not even a chance of listening to that.
Again, it's the selfish nature of the American right now that is preventing us from saving this democracy. Right? I mean, a lot of empty seats today at Falcon Stadium, but a lot of people were there.
Why were empty seats? A lot of empty seats.
Yeah, I was surprised at the empty seats. Oh, I got to check and see what the attendance was. At the game.
Lot of white Georgian MAGA racists in there with their Falcons jerseys on, cheering on that young black quarterback, Michael Penix, to lead their team to a championship or the playoffs, at least a playoff run. If they saw him in the street, in his street clothes after the game, right, they'd run him over in their car if he's walking the side of the street, right? They could give a shit. Or if his car was in a ditch, they'd certainly drive right by. But on Sunday, for 3 hours, he's the guy representing them. So they can have all that pride in Atlanta for the Falcons? Yep. Is that about how the day went?
Yeah, and it's funny too because it's the height of hypocrisy. How can you stand there cheering and screaming for Michael Penix, be wearing his jersey, put his jersey on your child, go to the game, yell and scream for him for 3.5 hours to win, come on, and then go try to get his autograph afterwards. You want him to sign your jersey, sign your football, sign your helmet, so you can display it proudly. And I mean, you can't take him home. So any piece of him that you can take home, I guess, will do because it's a piece of him that no one else has, among your other white MAGA friends. But it is so hypocritical to go and sit there for 3.5 hours cheering for 75%, African-American athletes on your particular team and then go pull the lever for MAGA, right? And then go act like a Karen, right? And then refuse to open the door when an African-American man knocks on your door who might be selling magazine subscriptions or some foolishness that they sell now door to door.
Is it just like, oh, these guys are the good ones because they're athletes? Like
Exactly.
they're the good ones. They're able to like by sort of carve them out
Yep. Yep.
versus the typical, and then that's how in their mind they're able to hold those two things at the same time. 'Cause I
Yep.
doubt anyone was cheering. I mean, hey, I'm a Kirk Cousins, good solid NFL quarterback at the end of his road, but I doubt anyone was cheering for Kirk Cousins today, were they? They didn't need Kirk Cousins today. I think Penix put up big numbers, right?
Didn't need him. And what's funny is I only saw, and this is all anecdotal, of course, but I only saw Caucasian fans with the Cousins jerseys. Very interesting. More Michael Vick jerseys than Kirk Cousins jerseys as well. More Deion Sanders jerseys than
Wow.
Kirk Cousins jerseys. So
Go
yeah,
back.
very interesting. And the height of hypocrisy to me, and me and my friend talked about it. I have a friend that I spend a lot of time with doing therapy with, and we went down to the game and we were talking, and we just laughed because we were like, well, wait a minute. I thought you were MAGA. Thought you didn't want to be around because you don't want us living next door to you, but you'll spend, $150 on a ticket, one ticket. So now you've spent $600 for a family of four, and everybody's got a Michael Penix jersey on, or a Kirk Cousins jersey, a Bijan Robinson jersey, or a Kyle Pitts jersey, right? Can't come to the game without a jersey. And what's interesting too is you'll see, it says 71,000 at the game today, but it didn't feel like it. But at the same time, you look around and because Atlanta has one of the highest season ticket holder numbers. I think they are the highest in the NFL, right? But there are still plenty of Caucasian Americans filling up that stadium, and and the funny thing is Arthur Blank made it affordable for you to go to the concession stand. I think the most expensive thing I saw was like a chicken sandwich was like $7, right? Cheeseburgers were $6. I mean, it was really affordable. Like sodas were $4.
That's rare.
Yeah, and this was something that Arthur Blank.
Do you feel it was? I mean, do the fans come together? The black and white fans?
No.
Is there any camaraderie, or are they just sort of watching the game in silos, rooting for the same team, but not really interacting in any kind of congenial way amongst each other?
Right. You'll see interracial couples, lots of interracial couples, but you don't see a lot of, black and white fans traveling together. Right. And then when you go to the tailgates, they are totally separate. Totally separate.
Is there a big police, or is there at all a military presence at the stadiums?
No,
Nothing at all.
Because the traffic is so bad.
Okay.
And it's so tight.
So what's going to happen when the World Cup comes to Atlanta?
Well, that's the $1 million question, and that's the conversation we were having on the way back. Because my thought was ICE pulling up a bus right outside of, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, or maybe they have to go out to Kennesaw State for some of the preliminary games, the preliminary matches, and ICE is outside waiting, checking IDs, checking passports, checking papers, right, to see who has their traveling papers. That sound familiar from American history?
So God, I hope Trump's gone by then. But we're only, we're less than a year away from this now, right?
Yeah.
Kind of around 10 months away. And we're inviting the world, right? We asked for the opportunity to invite the world to our country so that we could host this fantastic sporting event that welcomes everybody. Right. And we're doing it with Canada, right? We're co-hosting, right? So we're just going to there's going to be more brown people descending on America, maybe in the history of the country.
Right.
How is the fucking white supremacy movement going to handle all these fans from South America, Central America, Spain, Cameroon,
Africa? Yeah.
Who had the breakout team? Morocco was a breakout team at the last one.
They're brown.
Are we just going to suspend? We're going to put the military away for a month? Or are we just going to intimidate the shit out of them? There's a lot of talk around the world that they should pull the World Cup from the U.S. Just played in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? The U.S. would deserve it. You know what I mean? Because it costs to be racist. You look at those tiny towns around America, that display their racism. They got no tax base. They got nobody living there. Nobody's going to a convention in Vidor, Texas, right? Nobody wants to live in a sundown town, Forsyth County, Georgia. They got no diversity up there. Those schools are almost still all white, right? And that what they did was they put some expensive homes up there. So that brought people up there who wanted to get away from the crime, right? Put a couple of golf courses in some of those subdivisions up there. Now you got some nice neighborhoods up there. But now what's happened? Those kids have grown up and left the nest, and now people want to move back into the city because it's convenient to work, to great restaurants, to the opera, to the Hawks games, to the Falcons games, to the Braves games, right? All the stadiums are within city limits, right? So when you want to have fun, you got an hour drive from Forsyth County, from way out north on 85, right? So, if you're living out in Jefferson, why do you want to drive that far when you got no kids? You don't have to worry about your kids going to school with others, right? You want to get back into the city because the kids aren't going to school or they're in college. So, I mean, it's all connected.
But when you come back to the city, you have to embrace the diversity. You can't avoid it in a city. You can't insulate yourself from other people when you live in a city. It's too jammed in. I haven't lived in that many cities. I've lived in San Francisco, New York City. You can't silo. It's almost impossible to silo yourself off when you're in a city of that many people packed in.
But Brock,
you shouldn't want to, but you can't.
It's one thing for black and brown people to wait on you. And you got a table full of your white friends. You got eight folks sitting at a table. They were all white. And it's fine for the black waiter to bring us our food, the brown waiter to bus our table. That's fine. But we're not going to be calling you to hang out just because we live in the city. That's just the way it is, man. And you don't see a lot of it here, especially in the South. And remember, this is a huge city where people come from every place else. You got a lot of Atlantans around. You can pick out the Atlantans, but there are so many people here from so many different places. Because once upon a time it was affordable, it was a good bargain, it was a growing city, there was opportunity, but there's always been opportunity here for African Americans. Going back to Mayor Maynard Jackson and Dr. King. And this is the home of the civil rights movement. And, many white Atlantans appreciate that. But still, there are many more that don't. And that's why, you saw the kind of election we saw when Kelly Loeffler, lost. And the other nut job, I can't remember his name right offhand, but the guy who was so disrespectful to Kamala Harris, couldn't pronounce her name and wouldn't even try. The senator I'm talking, he was running for a Senate seat.
Purdue?
Yeah, Purdue.
But so...
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way of the South, bro. And it ain't changing no time soon. I don't care how many people move here from above the Mason-Dixon line.
But even with white people that are absolutely non-MAGA and hate what's going on in the country, most of them have still lived very siloed lives and are not integrated with people of color. They've lived a white life. They don't like what Trump is doing. They sympathize and empathize with people of color, but they haven't really lived their life around them and don't know people of color, and nor do they have friends of people of color where they ever have, quote, an honest conversation with them. And I think that's part of why, even the best of intentions of white people, part of why we have not had this unity in this moment.
Right.
The siloed lives is really hurting us in this moment because white people have not figured out a way, I'll call sane white America, has not figured out a way to embrace Black America, Latino America, Asian America to create that unity because white people have to be at the front of it. And there's no white leader that has shown the ability to pull it off and drag the other white people along with them.
Right.
And it frustrates me because I'm kind of like, and I've lived a siloed life, right? So I don't even pretend that I haven't done it to a certain extent, but not to the extent most white people. Most white people like have no one in the Rolodex, no one in the phone. Didn't grow up with black friends, like didn't along their life have any integration.
Right.
And maybe they don't know how to do it. Maybe they're afraid to do it. Maybe I think as much as anything, they're not comfortable doing it. That maybe they have the intention isn't bad, but they're just not comfortable doing it, and they can't get past that just inherent sort of bias / racism that sits in all of us. But it's killing us right now because the fact that we can't unify and show such a strong counter force is allowing a small sliver of the country to steamroll and dominate. And that's how you got minority rule, right? Because the majority hasn't come together. And we're losing a game we should be winning, is kind of my
Absolutely.
conclusion.
Right. All right, buddy, let's get out of here. We're way over time.
Oh, we're way over it. We're always over our time. But yeah, always a pleasure. I mean, I think we hit on a point that maybe we'll keep on as a theme, right? Because we've been complaining about lack of leadership, and we got to keep talking about it. And we got to figure out a way to coerce more white people to get out there and, and I mean, show the proper camaraderie.
Right. With your fellow human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. With you, quote, others.
Right. Absolutely. All right, buddy. Always
All right, Mark. Good stuff. Okay. Talk to you tomorrow.
All righty.